Hello. Today I'll be discussing the song Landslide by Fleetwood Mac. The track was released in 1975 off their self-titled album, commonly known as the White Album. However, the live studio version, re-recorded and released in 1997, also the year I was born, is a more compelling listen in my opinion, and the one I connect to more, so I'll be focusing on that version. I remember the first time I heard the song. I was 19 years old, working at a natural and organic grocery store deli, and being exposed to a whole new array of lifestyles and ideas that I had been mostly sheltered from. The longing and struggle that was audible in Stevie's voice captured a similar feeling I had inside, and I was struck by the relatability and depth. I was overcome with emotion when contemplating the several crossroads in life I had reached. I was about a year clean of heroin and living with my grandma, with absolutely no clue what to do with myself and my life. All I knew was I was terrified of being discovered as gay. I had been living in a false reality with a false narrative, mostly to appease my homophobic and tolerant family and exist easier in society. But I was miserable and making really poor choices. I knew I had to leave behind these ideals that limited my own self-expression and authenticity to self. Stevie's voice guided me, listen after listen. Her words, "Can I sail through the changing ocean tides? Can I handle the seasons of my life? I don't know," spoke to me. I interpreted them as encompassing the fear of change and moving on, weighing the risks of abandoning the structures of the safe and familiar in hopes of becoming new. Would I survive? I had the same question in my life. For Stevie, it was contemplating the end of her romantic relationship with Lindsey Buckingham, guitar frontman for Fleetwood Mac. For me, it was giving up my familial support system and public social shield in exchange for a different freedom, one I had never known. But Stevie's lyrics pressed on. The time makes you bolder, even children get older, and I'm getting older too. My youth was both concurrently happening whilst also escaping me, or that's how it felt anyway. Whatever decisions I made were going to be very important moving forward. The truth of who I was and what I wanted, needed out of life were my landslide. Overcoming the demons that prevented me from accepting and loving myself was partially the result of critically unpacking Landslide and my relation to it. The song moved me from the start for a reason, and when I found out what the reasons were, that just made it more meaningful every time I listened. So now, whenever I hear Landslide, especially that live 1997 version that I love so much, it reminds me of those lessons I learned and continue to learn about not being afraid of change, but running towards it, and to value self-authenticity. When I hear Stevie sing those familiar words, I'm taken back to a decade ago when I wrestled with whether I deserved to have a fresh start, and if I could do it without the support of those I relied on before. It reminds me to not be afraid to change or to live my life in a way that I think is best for me, not other people. It constantly challenges me to define what self-love is. Oh, mirror in the sky, what is love?